Welcome to the Close the Chapter podcast. I am Kristen Boyce, a licensed marriage and family therapist with a private practice, Pathways to Healing Counseling. Through conversations, education, strategies, and shared stories, we will be closing the chapter on all the thoughts, feelings, people, and circumstances that don't serve you anymore and open the door to possibilities and the real you. You won't want to miss an episode, so be sure to subscribe. Welcome to this week's Close the Chapter podcast. I am so excited to be with you today and talk about showing up and the 5 S's of creating a secure attachment. We hear a lot about attachment work and what it is, what it means. I'm not going to dive too deep into that. What I am going to dive into are these 5 P's that are critical to create security within yourself as in terms of a parent. Really, how do we parent in the healthiest way possible? How do we create a secure attachment with our child? How do we become more secure ourselves? And this is based off Dr. Dan Siegel and Tina Payne Bryson's work. They've written so many books. Parenting from the Inside Out is my favorite one because they have exercises in there to do some self-reflection. Mindsight is another book that I highly recommend. But if you look up either one of these researchers, psychologists, they will pop up, and any of their books are amazing. So you can go onto Amazon, look them up, and it's Dr. Dan Siegel and Tina Payne Bryson, Bryson. We can put their names in the show notes so you can look them up and peruse the resources, books, videos. They have so much information out there. I added a 5th one. They have 4 P's that's based on neuroscience in their work in researching attachment. I added a 5th one based on my experience and what's essential for healing and creating connection and a safe bond between anyone in a relationship. So this really started off with parent-child, and I'm going to focus on that. And this is critical in any relationship. If you are on a healing journey, be sure to grab the free guide. It's a journal/guide that is super helpful. It's at Kristen, KRISTEND, Boyce, BOICE.com/free resources. It'll be included in the show notes, but it's free. So if you're really trying to break patterns, get unstuck, free yourself from negative beliefs, get the guide as a beginning point. And I'm so glad you're here. So if this episode is helpful, please share it. Start a conversation with your partner, your friends, your parents, grandparents, anybody that you think this episode could benefit, and start deeper conversations. This is what I hope will spark a movement of some sort, is deeper conversations, truly. And I think if we start talking about meaningful things that matter, emotions, pain, fears, and what we're excited about, all of it, I think we're going to create healthier connections in the world. And what I'm seeing now is we need it more than ever. So I have a lot of information in this podcast. Feel free to grab a notebook, take notes, listen to it multiple times, because there's lots of helpful information in here that can change lives. So, got my glasses on. You can't see me if you're listening to this, but I'm ready to dive into this material because it's so powerful. Okay. Again, this is based off Dan Siegel's work and Tina Payne Bryson's work. Here's the deal. Children who form a secure attachment with their caregivers lead happier and more fulfilling lives. Okay, we say, well, maybe it's too late. You haven't been able to do that. It's never too late. You can still develop a secure attachment within yourself. And that's what I do with couples that come in. If they have anxious attachment, disorganized, avoidant, what I'm working on is helping them feel more secure. And these are the key ingredients to create more security within yourself and as a parent. So take some time to reflect on how you were raised. Take some time to reflect on how you're parenting. Maybe you're unconsciously carrying on patterns. I know I have a time or two because we're humans. And take the time to do some self-reflection, because I added a 5th one, and you'll see when we dive into the material that I think it's one of the key ones and what I encourage on this podcast so many times. So what this is this material is how we develop a bond with our parents by them responding consistently to our needs. And they have four, the four S's. I added a fifth S, so let's dive into the first one. The first one is safety. Think about Maslow's hierarchy of needs. We need to feel like we're being protected from harm, that we are being taken care of in a healthy, consistent way, and that the parent isn't the one causing the harm to the child. So we need to try to not be the source of a child's fear, not be the source of them trembling when a parent comes into the room. And if you reflect on your own parenting, fear was a big teaching point on how to motivate respect within a family system, I should say. A lot of it was fear, like, I'm going to wait till your dad gets home because dad was the disciplinarian. Dad was the one that offered spankings. Do some self-reflection, and how much was fear a motivator for you? And what research is showing is that actually can be detrimental to creating a secure attachment, because the primary caregiver is supposed to be the safe person that's emotionally available, that protects you from harm. And when they are the one our brains perceive as harming us, they're the ones that are self-inflicting pain on us. That is going to create anxious or avoidant or disorganized attachment, because they are the source of the fear. They are creating the harm, which now we have so much more research that we didn't have back then telling us that is not going to be effective parenting. Now, let's say we've had blips on the radar. We've created fear in our kids. We've done the fear-based parenting, because I have done some fear-based parenting. Like, if you don't, I'm trying to think of an example, stop doing XYZ, I'm going to XYZ threats. And the good news is we can check our own fears of maybe the child or the teen not doing what we want them to do, and how we create connection is repair work. Take repair. I cannot emphasize that enough. And the research shows this, that if you can repair what you've said or done or the harm you've caused fairly soon, and if you can't do it fairly soon, that's okay. We can still do the repair work. And repair work looks like, I can see I've caused you so much pain, and that's not okay, and I'm so sorry. It's not rationalizing. It's not explaining. If I can tell people anything when I do couples or family work, is explanations. When people have over-explained something, it almost feels like an eraser to the apology. So we all want to be heard and seen, which leads me to my other S's. But on safety, if you're making a repair and you're rationalizing, that's what the other person hears, is you're now rationalizing what hurt me. You're now rationalizing what hurt me. And as a parent, this is critical, to not over-explain as a parent. Do not go into the why you did something. And I am so guilty of this. That I have to work on this. If I pick one thing, I'm going to work on this, is instead of saying why you did or said something, say you're sorry, acknowledge their hurt, so I can see that really hurt you, and I'm so sorry. And I'm going to work on really noticing that pattern and diving into it to try to figure out, what is that for me? We're not over-owning. We're not over-explaining. We're not rationalizing. We're not minimizing. We are taking ownership. That's how repair work is done. And that is so important to create emotional safety. So if I am a parent that creates an environment where you can come tell me the truth, you can give me feedback, I can acknowledge it, I can recognize the pain that caused my child or my teen or my adult child. It doesn't matter how old they are. And I can say, I'm so sorry. I can see how that caused you so much hurt and pain. And we're not going on and saying, I'm such a bad parent. I'm so terrible. I'm just a horrible parent. That is not an apology. That is you going into a shame spiral. And now the child completely will shut down from you and turn off any type of connection with you. Because now they feel like now it's become about you, and now they feel responsible for your shame. That is not how we do repair work. Safety is built up over time, and what that does is it creates trust. So if I can tell you that hurt me, or I can give you feedback, and you can acknowledge it, then I start trusting you. I start feeling safer with you. If I'm the one causing you emotional pain by yelling at you, screaming at you, name calling, belittling you, I'm not going to feel safe in that relationship, and I'm going to start detaching or coming up with defense mechanisms. I'm going to try to just say anything to get you to stop talking or stop shaming me. I'm going to people please you, so I'm going to develop a fawn response. I'm going to shut down and avoid any kind of contact with you. I might get on social media, video games, start drinking, maybe doing drugs. I'm going to start, and this isn't just because of the parent relationship. Please hear that. We develop these coping mechanisms in order to try to feel safe. So it's important we understand that safety is number one when creating a secure attachment with our child and showing up. In order for me to show up, I need to be a safe person. If I'm the one verbally saying hurtful things to you, I'm putting you down. And again, we've all done stuff that we're not proud of as parents. Believe me, repair. How do you repair it? So that's number one. Okay, let's get to the second P. The second P of showing up healthy and being engaged, attuned a parent is be seen. SEEN. Do you help the child feel seen inside, not for their behavior, not for being compliant, not for being obedient with everything you say? No, being seen is seeing them deeply and empathically. You're attuning to their internal state on a meaningful level. You understand their inner life. You understand how they feel, what's going on the inside, who they are. You're helping them be who they are, not who you want them to be. You're responsive in a timely and effective manner to their emotions and to what they're saying to you. You create a safe place to have deep conversations, all different kinds of rumbles that they're going to have with their life. Maybe they're questioning who they are, identity, what they're feeling. They're confused by something that they've heard religiously or at school or with their friends. You're a safe place that they can come and process that information, process their feelings around it, their confusion, their disgust, their sadness, their fears. They can come to you because you're not belittling them. You're not shaming or judging or criticizing them. You are saying, that makes sense. Tell me more. Oh, I can see how hard that is. That makes so much sense you feel that way. Oh, I believe you when you tell me you're struggling. That I believe you. You're not saying, well, why did you do that? What were you thinking? That's a very shaming comment. You are creating a sense of feeling felt, feeling understood, feeling seen, and that you're important, and that what you have to say matters, and what you're struggling with matters. And I'm not judging you for what you're struggling with. I am creating a safe, non-judgmental, empathic place. Now, I certainly can have dialogue about, let's kind of deconstruct that. After I've held space compassionately and empathically for that child or that friend or that person, judgment does not help someone heal. Judgment is about our own fears. It really goes down into our own fears, our own struggles within ourselves. So feeling seen is something I see every client that comes into my office wants to feel. They want to feel seen, understood. They want a felt sense of I get them. I'm with them. I'm holding all the space for them to be unsure, for them to rumble through shame, guilt, fear, anxiety, sadness, grief. All of it's welcome in the room. And that's what you want to create with your child. All of those parts, all of those feelings are welcome. And they can express what they are going through on the inside, and you can see them and hold that space for them. This takes a lot of work on the parent part or the adult part. This takes a lot of self-work, which is why we're talking about these things, so we can work through our own struggles of being able to offer this to another human being, our children, our spouse, our partner, our friendships. Once you start doing this inner child work of healing your own sense of inadequacies, your own guilt, your own shame, your own fears, and this feeling of not feeling good enough and bad and scared that you're not perfect or you don't have things put together, that no one's going to like you. Those are such powerful invitations for us to work through, whether it's in therapy, listening to helpful podcasts, doing journaling, reading books, really diving into your own triggers, your own reactions, helps you be able to see yourself and other people. Because feeling safe happens with you're working in your own self to feel safe in your own body, to feel safe in your own environment. Number 2, feeling seen. Are you able to see you? Are you able to acknowledge you? Are you able to let all your parts have a voice? If you're not, you're going to have a real hard time seeing your kid. You're going to have a real hard time seeing other people because you're struggling to see yourself. And that's the beauty of delayering in therapy. You're able to see yourself with compassionate, empathic lens. And it takes time. I'm going to say that because we're so hard on ourselves and that inner critic wants to come out. So if you notice your inner critic coming out when your child is being vulnerable, they're going to have a hard time feeling seen by you, feeling internally seen and feeling a felt sense of that. Okay, so we have number 1, safety. Number 2, feeling seen. So seen, safety and seen. Number 3 is soothed. And I like to think of it as self-regulation. You can use this interchangeably, but soothe. This is to promote inner soothing, ultimately. We want to be able to self-regulate, soothe ourselves instead of using alcohol, substances, sex, pornography, like I mentioned, social media, video games, shopping, buying things, having our appearance, all these things that we use to soothe ourselves. We want to have a healthy way to soothe. And that looks like self-compassion. I've done an episode with Dr. Kristen on self-compassion. She really kind of pioneered that term. That's a great episode. We work on meditation and prayer and moving our bodies and journaling and ways to soothe ourselves, deep breathing. And that book on Mindsight with Dr. Dan Siegel really talks about how to self-soothe, how to soothe your inner child that is having a fit inside, that wants your child to stop. And so you're screaming at your kid, but you're not self-regulated. I always found that so interesting. I'm like, I want them to calm down, but I am not calm. So I'm screaming or yelling to try to get them to calm, but I'm not calm. And it's like this, I'm not regulated. I'm not self-soothing. So how are they going to learn to soothe? And ultimately, we do the soothing by taking care of ourselves first. And were your parents able to do that? Or were they so triggered and out of control, they had a hard time soothing you and offering that safe place to soothe you? Or were they so dysregulated you felt like you had to soothe them? And so this can really upset the developmental continuum if you feel like you had to soothe them rather than them soothing you. And you can see in the world right now, we're having a lot of trouble soothing ourselves. We're using external things to soothe ourselves. We're using technology, social media to soothe, to escape, to take the edge off. We take alcohol. We think that's going to soothe us. And actually, that keeps us stuck. That keeps us in a freeze state. We have fight, flight, freeze, or fawn. Fawn is the people-pleasing state. And when we're using external things, that is freezing us in time. That's creating what we call dissociation. Like I'm here, but I'm not really here. My body might be there, but I'm totally offline. I am someplace else in my head. I am not present. And what our children need to create a secure attachment is presence. What do we need to heal ourselves? Present to our internal experience, to our body sensations, to our emotions, to our stories in our head. Are you a present or attuned? Are you trying to escape your life? Because you won't be able to self-soothe if you're trying to escape your life. You won't be able to soothe anybody else if you're not present, if you're not fully grounded and centered. That's why body work is so important. I love massages. I love yoga, Pilates, anything that's kind of grounding you back into your body, into the space. That's why nature hikes, kayaking, anything involving nature is so grounding. How are you soothing yourself? That's an important aspect to parenting. How are you soothing yourself? If you're using external things, you're going to have a hard time soothing your child. Okay, so we have safety, seen, soothed, and secure. Okay, and the secure is helped to develop a sense of well-being inside. So the child feels like you're showing up, you're consistent, you're building security within to connect to your own self. You are really consistent in how you show up. And if you're not, you do repair. So we have safety, seen, self-soothing. I like self-soothing. And we have secure. So those are what creates a secure attachment. I also think of these, I kind of reframe some of these as safety, seen, self-regulation / self-soothing. I like self-regulation and the soothing as another option. So because that's what creates security. So think of them in that way. I kind of think of them as seen, safety, self-regulation, and soothing are kind of the same. And that's what creates that security. And then I love this acronym. So you can write this one down because that goes into creating safety and soothing and feeling seen is you're offering your peace, PEACE. You're offering your peace to your child and to another human. And how hard is that for us to feel peace inside? You're offering your peace. So what does peace stand for? So the P is presence. Are you on your phone? Are you distracted? Are you doing a million things and they're trying to talk to you? Are you sitting down in front of the person with gentle eyes, a soft expression, a warm body stance? And are you looking at the person and devoting your time to be fully present with them? You're taking your deep breaths, you're feeling your feet on the floor, you're present with them. Are you doing that? So this is kind of a self-reflective exercise too. Okay, what does the E in peace stand for? Engagement. Are you engaged in what they're saying? Meaning, are you mirroring back what you hear? Are you flat with your affect? Meaning you're just kind of stoic and you're really shut down. Are you able to really engage with your facial expressions and your body language? So the A, so peace, PEA, is affection. Are you affectionate? Not in a permission-based manner. Maybe the person needs a hug and you're asking, would you like a hug? Maybe a rub on the back. You're affectionate. You are soft in your expression. You don't have a furrowed brow. So the PEAC, the C is, are you calm? C is for calm. Are you calm? Are you centered? So you can look at that one as calm or centered. Are you anxious and not available to kind of calm yourself down? Are you taking some deep breaths to come back to center? Are you doing your square breathing? Are you kind of saying a prayer maybe to come back into this space? Are you watching what else is going on in your mind so you can kind of put that in a container? You can watch your thoughts, but know you're not your thoughts. And the E for PEACE is empathy. Are you able to offer yourself and the person, your kid, the person you're talking to, empathy? I see this as one of the most essential components. Are you kind of listening? Are you attuned? Are you offering empathy? Empathy may sound like, oh, that is so hard. That makes so much sense how you feel. I can imagine you feel really sad and scared. I'm not telling the person how they feel. I'm saying I can imagine. Empathy comes from such attunement to imagining what the person feels and just really being present with that. If you didn't get this as a kid, this can be harder for some people because intellectuals, as we say, intellectualizing things is a defense mechanism, but maybe intellectualism was really rewarded in your family system. And so empathy wasn't something that was done at all or regularly in your family system. It can be harder. It's like learning a new skill. You have it. You just need to access it. And so you might put that as a goal that you really want to get better at empathy. So you go to therapy. You listen to podcasts on empathy, you read books, you start accessing the ability to offer more empathy. I think it's one of the most important components to creating a secure attachment and emotional bond. And healthy because we're learning to be empathic towards ourselves, which then flows naturally to other people. So peace, presence, engagement, affection, calm or centered, and empathy. Ask yourself, what is your greatest growth area in those? You may, obviously I could grow in all of these, but if I had to pick one, which one is it? Is it presence, engagement, affection, calm, being calm and centered, or empathy? And then pick the one that you really may want to work on for the year. Maybe you're like, I really want to work on being more present. So I'm going to be really, and this is something I've worked on. I'm going to put down my phone when my kids are talking to me or my husband or a friend. I'm putting my phone away. Put the phone away. That's your first call. Maybe I need to wrap something up and then I can be fully present. So I might say, let me finish loading up the dishwasher, and then I really want to hear this. If it's something emergent, I'm going to abandon finishing the dishwasher because it's not that important and focus on sitting in front of my child, my teens now, sitting in front of them, putting everything away. Even if I'm stressed about, I've got to finish this, that, and the other, I'm going to say, if it's really important, I'm going to say, let me take a moment and take a few deep breaths. I'm shifting my thinking and what I was working on to now be fully present with you. So let me take a few deep breaths, kind of readjust myself so I can be fully present with what you're telling me, because I want you to know this is a safe place for you to come, that I'm a safe person. So maybe that's the one you're going to work on. Maybe you're going to work on being more calm and less anxious. And so you're going to do some proactive things about, maybe you're going to go to the doctor, get blood work done. Maybe there's a hormone issue there. Maybe there are some anxiety patterns in your family system that need to be addressed, etc. You get the idea. You're going to pick one of these and kind of really dive into working more on it. I've added a fifth S to these, and it's self-awareness. I think as a parent, as an adult, in any kind of relationship, and if you're on a healing journey, this is the one I talk about a lot on this podcast. And it's not just have the awareness and do nothing about it. It means let's start getting more curious as to why you have these triggers, why there's an intense response, why maybe you get defensive when somebody brings something up. So if my kids bring something up, which they do all the time because that's the environment we've created, which can be tough at times, but they will say what they feel, and I can feel my defensiveness. I can feel me going, well, if you didn't have such an attitude that I would, that kind of thing. If you wouldn't have just gotten dysregulated like you did, then I wouldn't do that. I have had to watch that. I've had to consistently work on taking deep breaths because feedback can be challenging and it's not always true. And you want to be able to take feedback and sift it through self-awareness. Yep, they're hitting on something I need to work on. And then me saying, thank you for sharing that with me. Let me take a few deep breaths. I'm working on digesting it, and it's something I really am working on. And I appreciate you saying that, and I am so sorry that's caused you pain. Tell me more about that. Instead of rationalizing, well, you have a pattern of, and then telling the person what they have a pattern of. I'm really working on consistently, and I think this is something we're all doing, taking feedback and then doing something about it, like taking action. And self-awareness is about recognizing your body responses. So, I got a pit in my chest or stomach, my breathing increased, my chest got tight, my throat's closed up. I could feel my face getting tighter and my brow burring, and maybe I'm getting that, my 11s are getting real squinty. It's important that you're recognizing your own body responses because the body keeps the score, meaning the body holds every memory, just like the brain. I might not be able to call it into an implicit memory or explicit memory because maybe it's an implicit memory. It's just stored there, but I can't consciously recall it. Working through your own trauma of the past and your triggers and how that's showing up as a trigger currently, because oftentimes what we're triggered by is something rooted in the past. That's just an invitation in the present moment for us to go back and do some healing work. Notice your own stories that you have in your head. We all have stories about so many things, everything. I mean, I could look outside and be like, oh, the neighbor's doing X, Y, Z because, and I've already made up a story. I've made up a story. And those stories create shame. Those stories create projection, meaning I'm putting on to somebody else maybe how I'm feeling or what I think about the situation rather than checking with the person. And we do that as parents. We can project a lot of our own pain if it's not metabolized and worked through onto our children. So if we didn't feel seen, we want our children to see us. If we didn't feel worthy, we want our children to think we are the best parents ever. We create then that wound. We project that wound onto the child, and the child carries it and feels responsible for it. I am passionate about breaking that cycle all the way around. And it's important to recognize when you're projecting your own unmet need onto your child. So if you're feeling bad about yourself and you're feeling not good enough and you're like, I do all this for you and you don't appreciate me and you just, I'm looking for affirmation. Now, there's one thing in teaching your kids gratitude. There's another in healing the inner child wound that you're carrying. So inner child work is critical in self-awareness. How old do I feel when my kid disregards what I say or they don't hear me because I have a trigger of not feeling heard? or seen, or maybe I'm not able to self-soothe. So I want them to soothe me by doing things for me, telling me things. You've got to do that work to recognize what is from your unprocessed wounds from childhood and your unmet needs, and what are you putting on your child? And do you want to stop the pattern? I always ask clients, do you want to work on that? And sometimes they do and sometimes they don't. Like if they're drinking too much to self-medicate, I'm like, do you want to work on it? And sometimes they say no. And then I say, well, until you want to work on it and stop it and the pain becomes greater, the cost becomes greater than the benefit, then you're going to keep doing it. And you're going to keep getting the same result, and you're going to keep getting a disconnected relationship from those in your life. So self-awareness to me was number 5 that I'm adding to this list of the 5 S's in showing up in a relationship to create security, secure attachment, and then security within yourself. It's really the healing formula. If you're a parent, this is your guideposts. These are your guideposts. Are you following these guideposts? And then how much repair work are you doing? If you're not as self-aware, the repair work's going to go out the window. So I have to be able to self-reflect, take ownership, self-soothe, self-regulate to create safety and feeling seen. And within my kids, they all work together. But if I don't take ownership, it's going to be hard for me to be able to offer these S's, these 5 S's to my kid or to anyone else, to even myself. So I am here to encourage you. I do not have all these perfected. I am passionate within my own life to change patterns and not project my unmet needs onto my kids. And continuous work is really what it is. I'm saying to have fun too. So don't hear that you have to do this intense work all the time. And I'm very self-aware to know when I'm triggered, and then doing the work through the journaling to understand, where is this coming from? Why am I getting so worked up over this? And a lot of times it goes to not feeling heard and seen as a child. And so then you have to work on you hearing yourself, you acknowledging yourself, you being the parent to yourself and doing these 5 S's in order to heal and reprocessing the past. Reprocessing meaning let's put that in the past so you can more fully in the present and be attuned, be present with your child. So these are the 5 S's to showing up and offering your peace to yourself and others. So I hope this was helpful and that you got a lot out of this episode, and you've kind of got some areas where you've targeted to say, that's where I'm going to hone in on some work. You can go back and listen to many episodes on inner child work and the healing journey. And I'm so grateful you're here. Tag me on social at Kristen D. Boyce on what was helpful. If you found this episode helpful, share it so we can really help others on the same journey. And you can have other people in your life that are also talking the talk and walking the walk. That's really what we all want. We want support. And I think that's another S. We're adding another S, is support. We want support and encouragement. So let's put support on there. We all want support and encouragement. So thank you for listening. And I'm so grateful you're here, you're alive, that you are doing this work in the world, because you are a change agent. You're a cycle breaker, a generational cycle breaker. The fact that you're listening to this entire episode tells me that you are here to show up, be yourself, make a change, and make a difference. So thanks for being here. If no one's told you I love you, I love you. Have a good day. Thank you so much for listening to the Close the Chapter podcast. My hope is that you took home some actionable steps along with motivation, inspiration, and hope for making sustainable change in your life. If you enjoyed this episode, click the subscribe button to be sure to get the updated episodes every week, and share with a friend or a family member. For more information about how to get connected, visit Kristen, Kristen, D, Boyce, BOICE.com. Thanks, and have a great day.